What would you do if your daughter called from 30,000 feet to tell you the woman who just kissed your son goodbye was sitting in her first-class cabin? I stood frozen in my farmhouse kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, while somewhere below me, footsteps creaked across floorboards that hadn't made a sound in 20 years. Please tell me something in the comments section. Where are you watching this story from? And take a moment to subscribe to the channel, because every day there's a real story that will shake your heart. The phone rang at 9:47 on a Tuesday night. I remember because I had just finished my chamomile tea and was rinsing the cup when Lila's name flashed across the screen. My daughter never called during flights. Never. She was a commercial pilot, strict about protocols, about keeping her personal life separate from 30,000 feet of responsibility. Mom. Her voice came fast and sharp. Monica's on my flight. Right now. First class seat 2A. My hand was still under the running water. Monica. My daughter-in-law. The woman who had kissed my son Brian goodbye at my front door barely 3 hours ago, telling him she was driving to her mother's house 2 towns over for a week-long visit. That's impossible, I whispered. She left here at 6:30. She was going to her mother's. Well, she's going to Miami instead, Lila said. And Mom, she's not alone. There's a man with her. They're sitting very close. That's when I heard it. A soft click from somewhere below me, like a cupboard door closing. My entire body went cold. Lila, someone's in my house. I breathed into the phone. What? Mom, get out. Get out right now. But I couldn't move. This was my home. The farmhouse where I'd raised 2 children after my husband died. The place where I knew every creak, every settling sound, every bird call at dawn. And someone was moving through it in the dark. I heard another sound. Footsteps. Deliberate. Coming from the direction of my bedroom. I'm calling the police, Lila said, her pilot composure cracking. Mom, please just get outside. My late husband's walking stick stood by the kitchen door. Solid oak, heavy enough to do damage. I grabbed it and moved toward the hallway, my heart hammering so hard I thought whoever was down there could probably hear it. I flipped the light switch. The hallway flooded with brightness, and at the far end, frozen like a deer, stood a woman I'd never seen before. Young, maybe 25, holding one of my photo albums. Who are you? My voice came out stronger than I felt. The woman's face was drained of color. She set the album down carefully on the hallway table, hands shaking. I'm so sorry. I didn't think anyone was home. Monica said the house would be empty. Monica. That name again. Monica hired you? I took a step closer, the walking stick firm in my grip. Hired you to do what? Break into my house. No, not break in. The words tumbled out fast. She gave me a key. She said you were moving into assisted living, and she needed someone to stage the house. You know, for buyers. To make it look nice for showings. My stomach dropped. Showings. She said you'd already moved out. That the family needed to sell quickly. She paid me $300 to come get measurements tonight, to see what furniture could stay and what needed to go. The woman looked around frantically. I'm an interior stager. This is what I do. I swear I thought this was legitimate. I lowered the walking stick slightly but didn't let go. Behind me, I could hear Lila's muffled voice through the phone still pressed to my ear. Mom, what's happening? There's a woman here, I said into the phone. Monica hired her to stage my house up for sale. Lila's response was a string of words I'd never heard my daughter use before. The woman in my hallway raised her hands. Look, I can show you the texts. Monica Turner, right? That's who hired me. She said she was your daughter-in-law. That you had dementia and couldn't manage the property anymore. Dementia. The word hung in the air like poison. I'm 72 years old, I said quietly. I have a master's degree in literature. I volunteer at the library every Thursday. I can recite every bird species in this county by their call. And I most certainly do not have dementia. The woman's face crumpled. Oh God. She scammed me too, didn't she? I made the woman sit at my kitchen table while I called the police. Lila stayed on the line, her anger crackling through the phone like electricity. The stager, whose name was Brianna, showed me the text messages. All from a number I recognized as Monica's. Instructions, measurements needed, promises of more work if this job went well. She sent me photos of the house, Brianna said, scrolling through her phone. Inside photos. Of your bedroom, your closets, everything. My bedroom. I thought about Monica visiting last month, asking to borrow a scarf, disappearing upstairs for 15 minutes. I'd thought nothing of it then. The police arrived 20 minutes later. 2 officers, one older with kind eyes, one younger taking notes. They listened to everything. Examined Brianna's phone. Took photos of the key Monica had given her. A key I'd never authorized anyone to copy. Ma'am, do you have any documentation about selling this house? The older officer asked me. I'm not selling my house. I never planned to sell my house. He nodded slowly. And your daughter-in-law has access to your property? She's married to my son. They visit regularly. I paused. Or they did. After the police left with Brianna's statement and a promise to investigate, I sat alone in my kitchen. It was past midnight. Lila had finally hung up, promising to confront Monica the second her flight landed. But I needed to think. To piece together what I'd been too trusting to see. Monica had been hinting for months. Little comments wrapped in concern. This house is so big for one person, Evelyn. Wouldn't you be happier somewhere with less upkeep? Brian and I worry about you out here alone. I'd dismissed it as normal worry from a younger generation who couldn't imagine choosing solitude. But it wasn't a worry. It was groundwork. My checkbook. I suddenly remembered. It had been missing for 3 weeks. I'd looked everywhere, finally assuming I'd misplaced it, using my debit card instead. Now I walked to my desk and searched through every drawer again. Gone. I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account, something I did every Sunday like clockwork. But this time I looked at the account details page, not just the balance. There it was. A second name on the account. Brian Turner. Joint owner. Added 3 weeks ago. My hands shook as I scrolled through the authorization documents. A signature that looked almost like mine but wasn't. The loops are wrong. The pressure is different. I'd been a high school English teacher for 30 years. I knew handwriting. I knew my own hand. This was forgery. I sat back in my chair, the house silent around me except for the old furnace clicking on. Brian was my son. My boy. The child I'd raised alone after his father died of a heart attack when he was only 9. I'd worked 2 jobs to keep him in baseball. Sold my car to pay for his college. Sat in the hospital for 3 days when he had his appendix out at 19. And he'd forged my signature. Or Monica had. With his knowledge. With his permission. The difference didn't matter. He'd let it happen. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I made lists. Documented every strange thing from the past 6 months. The missing mail. The insurance papers I'd supposedly signed, but didn't remember. The real estate agent who'd called asking if I'd changed my mind about listing. By dawn, I had 3 pages of evidence that my son and his wife were trying to steal my life. Tom Dorset knocked on my door at 7 in the morning. He was my neighbor, Lived a quarter-mile down the road in a small cottage he'd built himself after his wife passed. We'd become friends over the years, sharing surplus vegetables from our gardens, talking about books, occasionally having coffee on each other's porches. He took one look at my face and stepped inside without asking, "Evelyn, what happened?" I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, his weathered face growing darker with each detail. Tom was a retired notary, someone who'd spent his career verifying signatures and preventing exactly this kind of fraud. "I need you to do something for me," he said when I finished. "Lock every drawer in this house. Every document, every piece of mail, everything. And I want to install a camera system." "Tom, that seems extreme." "Evelyn, they forged your signature. They're staging your house for sale. This isn't a disagreement. This is a crime." He leaned forward. "And it's going to get worse before it gets better. People who do this, they don't stop. They escalate." His words proved prophetic faster than either of us expected. The letter arrived that afternoon. "From my insurance company. Thank you for updating your life insurance beneficiary information. Per your request, Monica Turner is now listed as primary beneficiary on policy number 847-2934. I'd requested nothing. The policy was worth $300,000. Everything I had left after 40 years of teaching and careful saving. The money I'd planned to leave equally to Brian and Lila. Tom read the letter over my shoulder. "That's it. We're going to the police station. Right now." But I stopped him. "Not yet. Evelyn. If we go now, with just this, they'll investigate. It'll take months. Brian will claim I'm confused, that I signed things and forgot. Monica will cry and play the concerned daughter-in-law." I looked at Tom steadily. "I want to catch them. I want proof so clear that no one can deny what they've done." Tom studied my face for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. "All right. Then we do this smartly." Lila landed in Miami and called me from the airport. Her voice was raw with anger. "I followed them, Mom. Monica and this man. They got into a Mercedes together. Kissing. Holding hands. I took pictures. Send them to me. Don't send them to Brian." "Why not? He deserves to know his wife is cheating." "Because right now Brian thinks his marriage is fine. He thinks he's protecting his future by helping Monica take my assets. If he finds out she's betraying him too, it changes his motivation. I need him focused on the money, not on his broken heart." Lila was quiet. "Mom, when did you get so strategic?" "Around 3 in the morning, when I realized my son was stealing from me." The photos arrived minutes later. Monica, radiant in a white sundress, wrapped around a man in an expensive suit. The kiss was passionate. The body language is unmistakable. I saved the photos to a folder on my laptop. Evidence folder. It was growing by the hour. Sunday dinner was a tradition in our family. Every week, Brian and Monica came over. I cooked roast chicken. We talked about work and weather and nothing important. It was a ritual. Comfortable. That Sunday, I cooked the chicken as always. Set the table with my good china. Put out flowers from my garden. Monica arrived first, all smiles. "Evelyn, you look tired. Are you feeling all right?" "I'm fine, dear. It's just Brian and I have been talking and we're worried. You seem forgetful lately." She said it loud enough for Brian to hear as he came through the door. "Last week you called me Jennifer. And you left the stove on twice." I'd done neither of those things. But Brian's face showed concern. "Mom, maybe we should schedule a doctor's appointment. Just to check things out. I see my doctor regularly. I'm in perfect health." Monica touched Brian's arm. Denial is common with cognitive decline. I read about it. I served dinner and said nothing. Let them talk around me, about me, as if I were already gone. Monica mentioned a beautiful retirement community she'd toured. Brian talked about how hard it was to maintain a property this size. They painted a picture of my incompetence so detailed, so collaborative, I almost believed it myself. When they left, Monica hugged me tight. We just want what's best for you, Mom. I watched their car disappear down my long driveway. Then I went to my desk and pulled out a file folder. Inside, I placed a document I'd created that morning on my computer. Official looking. Titled Power of Attorney Final Copy. The contents were complete nonsense. Lorem ipsum text. Fake legal language. But the header looked real. I left it on my desk, slightly visible, and waited. Tom's cameras were hidden in 3 locations. Smoke detectors. Picture frames. We'd installed them Friday night. Now we watched. Monica came back on Tuesday. Alone. I watched from Tom's cottage as she pulled into my driveway at 11 in the morning. She used her key, the one Brian had given her, and let herself in. Tom and I sat in his living room, watching the laptop screen. 3 camera angles showed Monica moving through my house. She went straight to my desk. We watched her photograph the fake power of attorney document with her phone. I watched her open drawers, rifle through papers, and pull out my old tax returns. She was methodical. Practiced. She's done this before, Tom muttered. Look how she moves. She knows what she's looking for. Monica spent 40 minutes in my house. When she left, she locked the door carefully behind her, as if she'd never been there at all. Tom saved the footage to 3 different drives. This is your evidence. Clear. Undeniable. But I wanted more. I wanted Brian to see it himself. I called my late husband's attorney that afternoon. Marcus Webb had drafted our wills 30 years ago. He'd held my hand through the probate process when my husband died. He was old now, nearly 80, but his mind was sharp as ever. Evelyn, I always told you to put this house in a homestead trust. I remember. I should have listened. Well, it's not too late. We can do it now. It'll protect the property from exactly what you're describing. No one can sell it, mortgage it, or transfer it without your explicit, notarized consent. We spent 3 hours in his office. By the end, my house was locked in a trust so tight that even if someone forged every signature I'd ever written, they couldn't touch it. Marcus walked me to my car. Evelyn, I have to ask. Are you going to report this to the police? Eventually. But first, I want Brian to understand what he's done. Not just legally. Morally. Marcus squeezed my hand. Your husband would be proud of how you're handling this. I wasn't sure about that. But I was sure about what came next. Brian's birthday was 3 weeks away. Monica called me on Wednesday, her voice bright with false cheer. Evelyn, I'm planning a surprise party for Brian. Just family and a few close friends. I'd love for it to be at your house. You have so much more space. Of course, dear. Whatever you need. Perfect. I'll handle all the planning. You just relax and enjoy. I could hear her smile through the phone. She thought she was manipulating me. Thought she'd get me in front of Brian's friends and family and announce the house sale as a done deal. Force my compliance through social pressure. Instead, I had 3 weeks to prepare my own surprise. Tom helped me create a presentation. Simple. Clean. Every piece of evidence is organized chronologically. Bank statements. Forged signatures. Insurance changes. The video of Monica searching my house. Lila's photos from Miami. We loaded it onto a flash drive. Then we made 5 backup copies. The party was scheduled for Saturday at 4 o'clock. Monica arrived at noon to decorate. Balloons. Streamers. A catered spread that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. This is too much, I told her. Nothing's too much for Brian. He works so hard. He deserves to be celebrated. She said it with such conviction, as if she actually loved him. Maybe she had once. Before the money became more important than the man. Guests started arriving at 3:30. Brian's college friends. People from his office. My sister Helen drove up from Georgia. Everyone brought gifts and smiles and congratulations. Brian arrived at 4 exactly. Monica had parked his car down the road, so he wouldn't know. His face lit up when he walked in, and everyone shouted surprise. He hugged me tight. Thanks for hosting, Mom. This is perfect. Yes, I said quietly. It is. We ate cake. Brian opened presents. People laughed and told old stories. It was a good party. Normal. Exactly what Monica had planned. At 5 o'clock, I stood up and tapped my glass. The room went quiet. I want to thank everyone for coming, I said. Birthdays are important. They're moments to reflect on who we are and who we want to be. I looked at Brian. I raised my son to be honest, to work hard, to treat people with dignity. Today, I want to show you all something. Monica's smile froze on her face. I connected the flash drive to my television. The screen flickered to life. The first image was the forged signature on my bank account. I let everyone look at it for 10 seconds. Then I showed my real signature beside it. Even from across the room, the differences were obvious. This isn't my signature, I said. But someone added Brian's name to my account using this forgery. Brian's face went white. Mom, what are you? Wait. My voice was gentle but firm. There's more. I showed them the insurance beneficiary change, the real estate staging texts. Every piece of evidence, clear and damning. The room was silent except for the sound of people shifting uncomfortably. Then I played the video. Monica in my house, going through my desk. The timestamp is clear. The actions are undeniable. When it finished, I turned off the television. Monica has been systematically trying to steal my house, my savings, and my independence. She's hired strangers with keys I never authorized. She's forged documents. She's told people I have dementia. I looked at my son. And Brian, you helped her. Brian's face crumpled. Mom, I can explain. Not now. Not here. I turned to the stunned guests. I'm sorry you had to see this. But I needed witnesses. People who know me. Who can testify that I'm sound of mind and body. I looked at Monica. You wanted to announce something at this party. Consider this my announcement. I'm pressing charges. The party ended in chaos. People leave quickly, avoiding eye contact. Monica screaming that I was crazy, that she'd sue me for defamation. Brian just sat on my couch, head in his hands. Helen stayed. Tom stayed. Lila, who'd driven straight from the airport, stayed. When everyone else was gone, I sat across from Brian. Say something, he whispered. What would you like me to say? That I understand? That I forgive you? I shook my head. You're my son. I love you. But you tried to take everything from me. We're broke, Mom. Monica's spending, the house we bought, it's all underwater. I thought if we could just get some equity from your house. So you were going to steal it. Not steal. Borrow against it. Just until we got stable. Without asking me. Without my knowledge. Using forgery. I leaned forward. Brian, that's not borrowing. That's theft. He started crying then. Big choking sobs. My 52-year-old son, weeping like a child. The police investigation moved faster than I expected. Monica was arrested on Tuesday. Fraud, forgery, identity theft. The charges stacked up like cordwood. Brian hired a lawyer immediately, claimed he knew nothing about the forgeries, that Monica had acted alone. The text messages proved otherwise. I sat in the detective's office, giving my statement for the third time. Everything is documented. Everything is verified. Mrs. Turner, your son is likely facing charges too. Are you prepared for that? Was I? Was any mother prepared to see her child prosecuted? Yes, I said. I'm prepared. Because the alternative was worse. The alternative was teaching him that family meant you could be victimized without consequence. That love meant accepting abuse. I'd taught Brian many things in his life. This would be the hardest lesson, but maybe the most important. The court date was set for October. 3 months away. In that time, my small town turned into a storm of gossip. People I'd known for years crossed the street to avoid me. Others called to offer support. Helen stayed for 2 weeks, helping me sort through the emotional wreckage. Monica made the rounds, telling anyone who'd listen that I was senile, that I'd attacked her for trying to help, that Brian was a victim of my confusion. But the evidence didn't care about her stories. The evidence was clear and cold and undeniable. The bank reversed the fraudulent account changes. The insurance company restored my original beneficiary designations. Marcus Webb filed restraining orders. My house, my assets, my life came back under my control. But Brian didn't call, didn't text, didn't apologize. That hurt worse than any forgery. Lila moved home for a month. Between flights, she stayed in her childhood bedroom and helped me process everything. Why did he do it, Mom? We weren't poor growing up. You taught us better than this. Monica is very persuasive, and Brian is weak. The words hurt to say, but they were true. He always needed approval, always wanted to please. When she pushed, he couldn't say no. That's not an excuse. No, but it's an explanation. We spent evenings on the porch, watching fireflies and remembering better times. Times when Brian had been different. Kinda. Before Monica had shaped him into someone I didn't recognize. Do you think you'll ever forgive him? Lila asked one night. I don't know. Forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation. I can forgive what he did and still refuse to let him hurt me again. Lila nodded. That's fair. The trial was quick. Monica's lawyer tried every angle. Claimed I'd been confused. That I'd actually asked for help managing my finances. That the signatures were legitimate. The jury didn't buy it. The evidence was too strong. The video is too clear. They deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 3 years, suspended to 18 months with probation and restitution. Every dollar she'd attempted to steal had to be repaid. Every document is corrected. Brian received 5 years probation and a felony record. His lawyer had negotiated a plea deal. Admitted guilt. Showed remorse. I sat in the courtroom and watched my son become a convicted criminal. He looked at me once. Just once. His eyes were empty and lost. I didn't look away. He needed to see that I was still here. Still strong. Still the mother who'd raised him to be better than this. 3 weeks after the trial, Brian showed up at my house. He didn't use his key. He knocked, polite and careful like a stranger. I let him in. We sat in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd served him thousands of meals. where he'd done homework, where we'd celebrated birthdays and mourned his father. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know that's not enough. I know I destroyed everything. But I'm sorry." "Are you divorcing her?" "Already filed. She's contesting it, but it's happening." I nodded. "And what about you? What are you going to do?" "I got a job. Construction work. Starting over." He looked at his hands. "I'm in therapy, trying to understand how I let this happen." "It happened because you chose it. Every step, you made a choice." "I know." We sat in silence for a while. Then Brian stood to leave. "Mom, do you think someday you might be able to forgive me?" I looked at my son. My broken, foolish, criminal son. "I forgive you now, Brian. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. You're going to have to live with what you did. And I'm going to have to decide if I can trust you again." He nodded, tears sliding down his face. "That's fair." Spring came 6 months later. I planted my garden with Tom's help. Tomatoes and beans and flowers that attracted hummingbirds. Brian came by once a month. We didn't talk about the trial. We talked about his job, his therapy, small steps toward rebuilding something that might never look like it did before. Lila got promoted to captain. I flew out to her ceremony, sat in the first-class cabin, and thought about how strange life could be. I am 73 now. My hair was whiter. My hands are a little more arthritic. But I was still here. Still strong. Still fighting. Monica sent letters from prison. Apologies wrapped in manipulation. I read the first one, then threw the rest away unopened. Some people thought I was cruel, that I should have shown mercy. But mercy without accountability isn't mercy at all. It's enabling. I'd been a teacher my whole life. This was just another lesson. One evening, sitting on my porch with Tom, I watched the sun set over my land, my property, my home. "Any regrets?" Tom asked. I thought about it. Really thought. "None," I said finally. "They tried to make me small, tried to make me forgettable. But I'm still here. And this house, this beautiful, stubborn old house." I smiled. "It's still mine."